everyone, this is Trevor, and you're watching my channel Social Dilemma. And tonight I wanted to talk about a question that my daughter, she's 9 years old, and she asked me about a week ago. She said, Daddy, what scares you the most? What scares me the most? This is a very good question that my daughter asked me, and I was like, well, what scares me the most? And it was an easy question for me to really answer, and it's a sad question, but for me, I said it's just living in a world that's lacking freedom. Now, of course, because of her age, I didn't go into any more depth, but she was like, oh, okay. She's understanding these concepts. And so, yeah, what scares me the most in this, my lifetime right now? I'm 49, and I'll be turning 50 in a few months. It's 2022, and what scares me the most is living in a world without freedom. And I've been thinking this way for probably at the turn of this century, and people kind of blow it off and whatnot, and they say, oh, this will never happen, and I really, if you are at least half paying attention to what's going on in the world, I think that definitely since 2020, it feels like we're in a dystopian nightmare. And which brings up, one of my favorite books, favorite authors who writes about dystopian nightmares, and that's this fella right there. There we go. That book right there, that encapsulates everything dystopian. Okay? That is George Orwell, 1984. It's a dystopian nightmare, and that's what I really feel like we're going down this path. Okay, definitely since 2020. If you're I live in Canada, and we have something called the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Well, the government basically took that piece of paper and ripped it in half. In the United States, it looks like the Constitution was ripped in half. Now, I got to say, the United States, as an outsider looking into it, I know a lot of my American friends are, they are posting and saying, there seems to be freedoms taken here and taken there, but I do see places in the United States, especially the states themselves, like the individual states, some seem to be holding on to freedom a bit better than other states, and some governors and people that live in certain states, basically told Trump to take your Corona policies and shove them, and they've told Biden to do the same. So I do see some parts of the United States as more free, as we're in Canada. It doesn't matter where you live, really. Some people say, well, Alberta is the freest province in Canada. Well, Trudeau said during COVID, jump, and Alberta was like, oh, okay, jump. How high? 10 feet? Okay, we'll jump 10 feet for you. In some respects, even Alberta jumped even higher. They threw priests and ministers in jail, and I think the Alberta was just as bad as any other province or territory in Canada. Okay, so what I'm basically saying is Canada, really showed me the lack of freedom that every Canadian has. And some people would be like, well, it was different times. It was, an illness. Well, I still maintain that, if you have to use force to institute your ideas, then your ideas are worthless. Okay? We're supposed to be a free society, and we're supposed to have these constitutions and charters of rights and all this, and it really didn't mean anything to anybody during this time. And we're still here. Trudeau, I still feel, is going to, he suspended his his cerveza sickness virus mandates in June, but he's gonna bring them back come October, November. He's gonna start bringing that stuff back. So, the United States, they're gonna try to run that too, and hopefully they get through it. So, yeah, that's what scares me the most is living in a dystopian nightmare. And I guess at some points in my life, I'm like, geez, I'm glad I was, born in Canada. I guess, am I proud to be Canadian? No, I'm glad I was at least born into an area that seems, if I was to look at like places maybe in like China, Venezuela, places North Korea, maybe some countries in Africa. Probably, it's like, geez, I'm glad I at least was in Canada. But in the last 2 years, it's really shown me how Canada, pieces of paper, being constitutions and Bill of Rights and whatnot and charters, they don't really seem to matter. And Trudeau has certainly proved that by, he instituted, I'm going to call it the War Measures Act. Okay, they changed it to the Emergencies Act just to make it sound better, but it's a martial law, and he brought that in. It hasn't been free here. If you were a truck driver in Canada, you had to have at least up to date to work in an industry that basically I don't think truck drivers. You talk to truck drivers, like they don't have to really see anybody. They pick up their trucks, they deliver it. There's really not much contact there. So why was he pushing for truckers to do it? I don't know. It makes me think that these people want to destroy something good and bring about something different. So yeah, it was a really good question. I really love and am proud of my daughter for the questions that she asks, and she's always asking questions. And that question was, like, what scares me the most? And definitely just living somewhere was a lack of freedom. And Canada is definitely a place that lacks freedom. And here's another thing. So in Canada, we don't have the right to bear arms. We have a privilege to own firearms, okay? And in Canada, firearms, you can use them for hunting and going to the gun range, and there are some sport shooting events. And we, up until June 2020, pretty much had the same amount of firearms that you could buy in Canada that you could buy in the United States. And then Justin Trudeau came in and said AR-15s and variants of that kind of firearm, it's banned, outright banned. You can't buy them anymore. They're prohibited weapons. You keep them locked in your safe now, I guess, and you can't bring them out. And that was the first sign for me of, okay. There's that saying that when government starts to ban things and take things away, especially firearms, that they plan on doing something really bad. So, like here in Canada, I'm what they call an RPAL, a restricted possession and acquisition license. I have that. I'm a firearms owner in Canada, and I abide by the Canadian laws, by the way, RCMP and whoever else is watching. But yeah, so yes, when I buy a firearm, yes, they are for hunting. They are for taking to the gun range. But let's take that aside and look at firearms realistically. Realistically, yes, they're used for hunting. They're used for taken to the range and sport shooting events, and they're also used by the government in their military and police forces and any armed public servant. They're used for killing people in self-defense or some kind of war. So police are used. Police carry guns in Canada, obviously, and if someone comes charging at them with a tree branch and says, "I'm going to kill you," suppose a police officer has every right to pull their firearm and shoot that person. If you're a soldier in the Canadian military and you're sent to wherever, if you're sent out on a mission, it's I guess, supposed totally legal to shoot and kill people. So that is what guns are for. That's what guns are for. And so Trudeau in June 2020 starting to take those away. It's like, okay, as a respecting gun owner and law-abiding citizen here in Canada, it's like, okay, I abide by your rules, but it's kind of strange when they start taking these things away from people. And now in October, as of October 2022, handguns in Canada are going to be, I guess, banned now. Like in June 2022, Trudeau said no more, as of October, they're going to pass this. Handguns are going to be made illegal, just like the AR-15s and AR-15 variants in Canada. And then from there, I'm sure Trudeau's going to keep chipping away at different kinds of firearms. He'll go through hunting rifles, that come with the pointy bullets. Like I have a 308. I have a Browning lever action, and it comes in a 308. I'm sure that'll be banned next because those pointy bullets are pretty scary and can go farther than my, like a 30-30 round or something like that. So, freedom in Canada is just getting chipped away. And then it goes into the internet censorship here. I believe it's called Bill C-11 in Canada. Trudeau wants to, again, he's going to want to ban shows probably like mine because I speak out. Something that comes out, I want to bring that out in the news. I want to bring that out in the eyes of the public and just bring these ideas forward. But I'm sure that the ideas I share, Trudeau would go, nah, I don't like that. Nah, I don't like that. So, maybe a show like mine gets canceled. So there's another thing, freedom of speech. So again, if you're an American watching this, hold on to that Constitution as best you can. I know one of my favorite scholars is a guy named Lysander Spooner who, really doesn't, he points out the flaws of a constitution, but, right now, Americans, you got to hold on to that thing, because in Canada, was even told to us by the Attorney General of Canada, he said Canadians don't have property rights, like we have privileges, and they say these things. It's like, what? We don't have rights here in Canada. Canada is just a nation state, and we have privileges here. So, privileges to work, privileges to own property, and firearms are property. And I know in Canada there's a large percentage of liberal people who just don't believe in firearms, but it is personal property. What if they come after something that you enjoy? Again, maybe maybe Trudeau pulls, he gave them the marijuana rights, and that made them happy, which is fine too. Hey, you should have the right to consume what you would like. But yeah, it's just Canada is falling. Canada is falling. The freedom level in Canada, I'm 49, and I think back to my younger days, and it did feel more free here. But as I'm getting older, and I become like a firearms enthusiast. I've always been a firearms enthusiast, but a few years back, I got my restricted gun license in Canada, the RPAL that I talked about earlier. And you start. They chip away at that, and really, firearms, yes, they are in Canada. Yeah, I abide by all the legal measures, but the government uses them for purposes other than hunting and going to the range and target practice. So when they start taking away citizens' rights to own those things, firearms, it makes me wonder. I just wonder. It's a question I have. Why is Justin Trudeau doing that? Is he going to be up to no good? So I don't know. Again, we just recently had two fellas armed with knives kill 10 people and injure 15. Now, there's been no mention of Trudeau banning knives in Canada, but again, I'm like, well, these guys killed 10 people and injured 15 with knives, and that's in the top 10 of mass killings in Canada, and they did it with knives. So, why is Trudeau not banning those? And I hope he doesn't. I mean, people, even people, hardcore liberals would be like, "Oh, no, that's stupid," or would they? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe conservatives want to take it away too. Who knows anymore? I don't feel like anyone in Canada fights for freedom anymore. I suppose it's also what's drawing me to the United States, and there are states in the America that do have that do seem to respect levels of freedom for the individual. So as we're in Canada here now, and I've been talking about this since the turn of the century. Been getting interested in ideas, libertarian and voluntarist ideas, and from people who, like, I get, Ayn Rand, Lysander Spooner, Austrian economics like Hayek and Murray Rothbard, and I also, I like people like George Orwell. I showed his book earlier, 1984, and Animal Farm, and I look quite forward to having my daughter read Animal Farm. She's 9 years old right now, because she's the one who kicked off this freedom video I'm making tonight. So I'm very excited for her to read Animal Farm. Maybe in a couple of years, or when she's 10, when she can read better. So it's a pretty good read for kids, and just hopefully she can get into reading the books that I have back here behind me on the shelf here. I mean, all my books here are liberty-minded, Austrian economics, and individual freedom, personal responsibility, and those are the things that I hold dear and to my heart, and freedom. I guess that's what's drawing me to the United States as well. It seems to be the last bastion of independence and freedom, and I do see some Americans slipping away from that, and sometimes I think maybe it takes a person like me, like a Canadian, from the outside to come back in and reinvigorate that pioneer spirit, which I feel I truly have, and I think it is time to move on from Canada that just doesn't have freedom here anymore. And I want my daughter to grow up in a world where she doesn't have to be forced to take a medical procedure to have a job or to go to school. Okay? More opportunity. Just even if this COVID stuff had been all voluntary, between Canada and the United States, Canada just, I'm really starting to look at them like there's just nothing really here anymore. And at least the United States, like, my daughter's interested in horses. Maybe she could become a veterinarian or do some rodeo driving. She wants to learn how to drive stagecoaches, for goodness sake. So, that kind of stuff is not very good here in Canada. So, more so in the United States, a lot more places there. So, people say, well, geographically, Canada's beautiful. I said, well, yeah, it sure is, but the United States sure has a lot the same things as Canada. The Rocky Mountains do run through United States and Canada as well. And just the United States, man. It's the United States. It seems to me to be the last bastion of freedom in certain parts. Okay, there are a few states, come to mind, New York and California. Certainly don't seem to be places that have any level of freedom for the individual, and which is too bad. Not so much New York. I'm not fascinated with New York so much, but California, beautiful geographically, but it's it's falling apart. It's like Canada. It's falling. So that's my take on that beautiful question that my beautiful daughter asked me about a week ago. What scares me the most? And what scares me the most is living in a world where the individual just has no freedom no freedom of speech, no freedom to own property, just no freedom to do anything. You're in some kind of dystopian nightmare, like an Animal Farm, like a 1984 Orwell, and that scares me the most. And I do see this world as falling into that nightmare since 2020. So I'm going to get these messages out, and I want this, I want to turn the tide back to freedom, back to the individual who can contribute to society in a voluntary way. So that's my 2 cents worth tonight, and I hope you enjoyed the show, everyone, and stay free, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you very much. Goodbye.